Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's our regular City Commission meeting. It's Monday, March 12th, 2018. If everybody could please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have a pastor this evening for the benediction? Invocation. Hi, Edwin. I see you hiding there in the back.
On a side note, I apologize. I was supposed to pray for you in January, but dropped the ball and did not. So as part of my penance, you will see me at both of your city commission meetings for the month of March.
Excellent. We're always glad to see you.
So I'll be here to pray for you both times. Oh, and loving God, thank you for our city commission. Through the power of your Holy Spirit, please guide their discussions this evening. May they work in the spirit of cooperation, the spirit of creativity, and in the spirit to serve your people and to work to bring your kingdom into this community. Just bless their efforts this evening, and may all discussions and decisions be for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Edmund. Gladys, can we have roll call, please?
Hess?
Here.
Cole?
Yes.
Moore? Here. Tarney?
Here.
Vianski?
Yep.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. And with that, we're on item number 4, public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Please be sure when you come up to the mic that you say your name as well as your address.
I'm Alan Robont, 114 East Front Street. I'm coming before you like I do just about every year at this time. Closing Front Street for Buck-Teens from Redbud to Oak Street. It has a very negative effect on the businesses downtown. I think last year you may have closed it from Main Street to Redbud. That would certainly be more helpful to many of us. And there is a little bit of an issue going on in that with the latest round of SEVs on our buildings, we see a decline of about 8% in the value of our property holdings downtown. So I think whatever economic development strategy you've been following the last 10, 11 years doesn't seem to be working. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up, Penny.
Hi, I'm Penny Slocum from 111 Main. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I highly recommend that we close the streets. It brings business in town. It brings hundreds, if not 1,000, extra people in town. It shows off our town. I think we need to do it because right now, not only is our building values declining, but there is nobody downtown shopping, eating, anything. And we need to focus on what we can do downtown with what we already have, the businesses we have, and support them and get people in town shopping. And I worked the car show last year and the year before. I know what it brings in town, and people love it, and my business thrives from it. And my street's completely closed off. You know, people have to walk a couple blocks to get to my street and never complain. So I would appreciate if you guys would recommend that we do close, you know, from Oak to Redbud and Main Street and days where they do, and let us keep bringing those people into town. We need that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Randall Pitt, 312 West Chicago, and I have a probably unusual request or reminder about the Easter egg activities on Easter Sunday, when we put candy-filled Easter eggs out on the common. And I'd like to suggest that we, as far as possible, concentrate on sugar-free candy, because sugar is a demon in angel's guise. It's very bad for your teeth, bad for your waistline, bad for insulin need, and probably other things too. Thank you.
Thank you. Come right on up, Jerry.
Do you want me to talk about this stuff now, or do I go under committee?
He'll be under report.
We'll assign you a spot. Thank you. Okay. And with that, public comment is closed, and let's go on to the consent calendar. And I understand we need to change our agenda a little bit. Gladys, did you want to help us with that a minute?
Yes, we'd request that you add B under item 6, reports, to add Buck Teens, as Jerry Flenner's here to report on that.
Okay.
And then if we could add B under new business, it's an amendment to MDOT Master Agreement Contract 2017-0141, dated 10/1/16, Buchanan Dial-A-Ride. And Kim O'Haver is here to announce this contract, or explain this contract. So if those could be added, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
Okay. Roll call.
Hess?
Yes.
Torney?
Yes.
Moore? Yes. Bianski?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Now that's to amend the consent calendar to include those two items.
Right.
We would still need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
That wasn't for the consent calendar, that was for the agenda. Correct?
That was to amend the agenda.
Okay,
And then we need a motion to approve the consent calendar
okay.
with the amended agenda.
But I want to strike something from the consent calendar.
Okay, then now it's, who seconded that motion? Dale, thank you. Okay, now it's, you'll have discussion.
I want to strike G from consent. That's a 44% raise. It really shouldn't be under consent. It should be under new business. 135 to 195. It's not even necessary to make a motion. I want it struck. Move to new business.
Get a first motion on,
The main motion
yes.
now is to approve the consent calendar with the amended agenda. And we have a subsidiary motion to strike G, not strike it, but to move it to new business for discussion, for separate discussion.
So we need to vote on the amended consent calendar
No,
and then move G off?
No, we need a second to your motion. I'll second it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to strike item G, or to move item G to C, new business.
Okay. Roll call.
Torney?
I'm going to vote no because Bill has already explained that to me in an email, why the increase, because I asked the same thing and I got my answer.
Cole?
Yes.
Hess?
No.
Bianski?
Yes.
Moore?
No.
Passed by majority, or no, motion fails by majority.
Okay, then we're back to the roll call on the consent calendar as written
With the amended.
with the amended.
Amended agenda.
Oh, amended agenda, yes, sorry.
So that motion is still on the floor.
Right.
Right.
And it's already been seconded, right?
Right. Yes.
Yes.
There was a motion made by Moore, seconded by Turney,
Okay.
to approve the consent calendar with the agenda with the amended agenda. Hess?
Yes.
Bianski?
Isn't there supposed to be discussion now? I mean, because I made the motion for a reason, and just because it's been discussed and approved over the phone doesn't mean it's been discussed and approved publicly. And it is new business. It's not consent calendar business even. So, I mean, there should be discussion.
Pat?
Your Honor,
Yes.
that's out of order since the motion was made and seconded, and the motion was to move it off the consent calendar, and that motion failed. Therefore, it is considered to be a non-controversial item.
No, I want to ask Gladys the same question then, because the thing about it is Pat's not either the clerk or the city manager or the mayor. So you shouldn't have even asked her. So Gladys, I'd like to know if there shouldn't be discussion on this, because the motion was made, but there was never no discussion on this. I moved to move it off, but there was no discussion about the consent calendar.
Under the main motion or under the subsidiary motion?
Well, it'd be the motion to approve the consent calendar. There's been no discussion at all on any of the motions, at all.
Well, you would have had discussion under your motion
Right.
before the vote was taken.
But then there was no discussion on the main motion.
Commissioner Moore?
Actually, Gladys, you can check this. He doesn't really need a motion to pull something off the consent calendar. He can just have it added without us even having to go through a motion. But I mean, you can check it. You don't need a second because the consent calendar is really for non-controversial items. So if there is a controversy, something needs to be discussed, any commissioner has the right to pull something off and put it somewhere else in the agenda. So he can put it in the agenda, but he knows that the majority of people don't agree with the situation. So, but if he wants to say something, that's fine.
Yeah, I really want it pulled off the consent calendar. I want to put it under new business.
So he doesn't need a motion, just we will do it. I mean, if Your Honor,
It's up to the commission. It's a commission's agenda at this point.
But every consent calendar has consent agenda has the right of any individual member to say it's something that needs to be discussed. So
So we are pulling it off of the agenda.
I think that's the correct thing to do.
All right, that's fine.
Can we clarify that, though? Because, I mean, thank you very much, Pat, but a lot of times we kind of struggle through this, and basically that's what I asked. I asked to move it off the consent calendar, and then it goes through motions, and then it gets voted on, but I originally asked to just move it off.
He already just won his point,
Yes.
and we don't need to
Let's move
discuss
on.
why
All
it
right.
needs to be done.
Yep, I agree.
So it's going to add the link to the meeting already,
Yes.
so.
Okay, Gladys, you're going to have to refresh our memories where we are, actually. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to accept the consent calendar as amended
Okay.
with the added 2 items and the moved item.
Yes,
right.
I'll say that as my motion.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Hess,
Yes?
Moore,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Turney?
No.
Passed by majority, Your Honor.
Okay, and with that, we're on item number 6, reports by departments, committees, and boards. And for letter A, we're going to hear an update on the 2018 Easter egg hunt.
I'm coming to you late because this actually was brought to our attention pretty late too. Quite honestly, we didn't think we were going to have an Easter egg hunt this year after Alice Crean reported that she couldn't do it. We waited to our Park and Rec Board meeting thinking that maybe we'd have someone that stepped up wanted to handle the Easter egg hunt this year for our youth and our communities. It didn't happen. We did find some interest in that, but no one wanted to step forward and take it. That next day, after our Park and Rec Board meeting, the city manager said that we didn't have anyone, so during our staff meeting, I reported that our guys at the Department of Public Works, the Water Department, and the cemetery decided, well, we want to do it. So we're coming to you pretty late. We've already got the ball rolling, only because we couldn't get to you before now. We would request that you would allow us to keep going. We've made arrangements to fill the Easter eggs through several volunteers, through several groups. We're going to change the location to Centennial Park, and the date would be March 24th. So with that, at the end of this, I would ask for the ability to continue on so we can have this Easter egg hunt. I've been in contact with Alice Crean on that. We have Craig Miller on our staff, which has done these time and time again, so he's very acclimated with how to do it. We're doing this not to be paid. We're not doing this during our workday. This is something we're doing after hours with a whole lot of help from a whole lot of people. I did make a list. I think it's fair that during my time here that I should at least mention those guys. What we did is we've taken the basket of plastic eggs to be filled to different sponsors. Redbud Hardware has accepted one. Hilltop, Buchanan Police Department's accepted two. Edgewater Co-Alliance, the Chamber, the Trout Committee, the Hockey Board, Lean America, the high school staff and the teachers, and also a lot of student groups have got involved, bringing in candy and filling eggs for us. Country Heritage and Buchanan Metals. Metals out on Carroll Street. We also set up a TNA account, and we're hoping that someone takes this over later on. And we got a huge donation of $300 from the Scarecrow Committee. So with that, we had planned on renting a Porta-John, picking up a few prizes, buying our barricade tape, and leaving some left over for hopefully for somebody to pick up thereafter. I do want to make a quick mention to toot some of their guys' horn, and they're not here tonight, but some things you need to know that they do. That entire group, along with wastewater, they donate biweekly to United Way. I don't know if you know that. They also participate in the Chili Walk. For the last 4 years, they've always taken some sort of ladle home that's been gold. We play Santa Claus. We've been to the elementary schools. We've been to the senior center, been to the library, and we've even rode the fire truck through town. This one is kind of unique. We found a lady that had a water leak in her house, and she couldn't afford to pay her water bill. We paid it for her, and that was not related to us. Most of them, we didn't even know her, but we paid the $237 so she could keep her water on. We participate in the Big Truck Day, the library. And I know at least 4 occasions when some of our citizens had had water leaks that couldn't afford to make payment to plumbers to come and repair those. Our guys did it. Not during work hours, after work hours. So those are just some of the things that I jotted down back there. There are more, and this is just kind of another example of those guys giving back, and with help from the sponsors that I've listed. So I hope we get a consent vote tonight.
Well,
Yes, Pat.
Do you have a reason why you moved it to Centennial Park?
Yeah, we thought we wanted to make it a little more challenging. So there's a lot of things there. We can hide Easter eggs around. The groups will be the same. There's going to be 4 groups. There is also going to be a group with soft candy. I know I heard tonight the sugar-free stuff. I guess we never thought about that. But there's going to be a group where we have the softer candy for the toddlers who can't maybe bite into some of the harder candy, the jawbreakers, the hard style gum, that kind of stuff. So actually there's going to be 5. We wanted to move it to Centennial again. It's bigger. It's a bigger space. I think the parking is the same. It's something that the guys chose.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Yes, Carla?
I'm always bragging about our guys, our city employees. They're always there to help out wherever they're needed. And I would really like to go back and say that we thank them for what they do. They volunteer for the thrill. And so many other things. You mentioned some things I didn't know about, and I think that's fantastic. And we appreciate them doing the Easter egg hunt this year. So a big thank you and kudos to them.
Yes.
Share that.
Dale?
JT, just tell the guys thanks for me. I know they do a lot of hard work, so this is very nice for the community.
Saved a lot of people from being disappointed this year. Thank you. Do we need a motion, Pat?
I'll make the motion. We approve the use of Centennial Park this year for the 2018 Easter egg hunt.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Bianski?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Torney?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you, and please extend our thank you to the guys and ladies. All right, and with that, we're on item 6B, Buck Teens. Jerry Flenner is going to be speaking to us about the Buck Teen reunion.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate JT and the city workers. They do a fantastic job. Always jump in. Sounds like they're paying bills for people when they don't have to, and now they've taken over the Easter egg hunt, which is just another reason why life is better in Buchanan. While I've got the floor, I'd also like to talk, if I could, about the Chili Walk. It's March 21st, coming up very quickly. It's well in order. I'd like to thank you for closing the front street for that. We do that mainly for the safety of the kids. We've got kids running around down there, and the last thing that Buchanan needs is to have a little child ran over for a Chili Walk. So thank you for that. Buck Teens weekend, the Buck Teen event is actually June 10th, but on June 9th, we're requesting that we have a car cruise-in that day that'll start at 2 o'clock and go till 6 o'clock. The reason that we chose to close all of Front Street versus part of it is last year we had enough cars that we overfilled the area, and we had a real hard time getting the cars into the area that we had approved. That second edition of Front Street, there's probably only maybe 8 parking spaces, so I know that's 8 parking spaces, but it also allows for that many more people to come down and enjoy the activities. Penny actually went door to door downtown, has a list of 28 signatures from businesses downtown that approve the car cruise-in and the closing of the street. So I know there are.
Look at that while you're talking,
yep,
please.
I know there are some.
Start down there with Dale.
I know there are some that do not agree with that, but we do have 28 businesses downtown that that approve the closing of the streets. So. The other activity that's going to be going on, it'll be going on in the Commons area, is there's going to be a craft show. I think we had it last year during the Thrill. It's Liz Dreisler's group, so that will be going on. And I believe Michigan Gateway is going to have a concert that evening, June 9th, on the Commons stage. That's not been formally announced yet, but they're working on that and hoping to get that. So we should have pretty active weekend in Buchanan. I also know that that's sidewalk days, so it could be a real interesting weekend for Buchanan. But lots going on, lots of good stuff. Another reason why I think life is better in Buchanan. Any questions?
Anyone? All right. Thank you very much, Jerry, for coming.
Sure.
All right. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to item number 7, unfinished business, and this evening we have none. So we're going to move on to item number 8, new business, and we're on letter A, consider project authorization, City of Buchanan, fiscal year 2018, section 5311, operating formula grants for rural areas program. And with that, we're going to hear from Kim O'Haver.
Madam Mayor and commission members, it's a pleasure to be here. I always get to talk about the most interesting things. This is the driest part of the evening, I'm sure. There are 2 items having to do with our Section 5311 funding for Buchanan Dial-A-Ride. The first one I will refer you to is Amendment P2, and this happens every year. The federal government says, okay, we will grant you XYZ dollars in funding in whatever fiscal year it is, but they don't appropriate the whole amount at one time. They usually appropriate, maybe 30% at one time, and then they'll appropriate the other 70%. So that's why I usually come here twice a year with 2 amendments to the contract that you have already signed. This is the first amendment for the year. They are granting under this portion $8,825. The amount that they approved for fiscal year 2018 is $28,530. So the remainder will come in the second appropriation. This appropriation represents just about 31% of the total. You do not need a separate resolution to accept this amendment. We do have a blanket signature resolution on file with MDOT, which was updated last year. Chief Marks and Julie O'Brien are each authorized to sign on behalf of the City Commission. So this is just to let you know. The second amendment you received this evening, and it's number A1. And this is also an amendment to the Section 5311 federal funding contract. What they have done, they have raised the threshold for certain documentation of purchases to $3,500 from $3,000. This doesn't really affect you, it affects me, because I do these reports on behalf of the city. But it's a good thing because MDOT in the past had lower thresholds than FTA required. And every time the dollar amount would increase, well, that increases the amount of documentation and research and backup and all of that. So it was more labor intensive. And what MDOT has done now is to bring their thresholds more in line with FTA, which for the $500 range here, that will ease off on the documentation and research requirements. I believe that Gladys gave you a copy of this little summary. So I gave you an example here of how this works. Like when we got our new buses, there was no lettering on them. So I had to get a quote for lettering the buses. And then I had to determine if that price was fair and reasonable. Well, how do you do that? I checked with other transit systems in our area and said, okay, what did you pay for lettering your buses? And the quote that I obtained for lettering our buses was comparable, so I had to document that and tell MDOT, yes, it's fair and reasonable because I checked with other systems and this is what they paid. So that's how this works. And then they're raising the next threshold from $100,000 to $150,000. This really doesn't affect you. All we purchase at that cost is new buses. And there's a whole raft of state documentation, and again, I do that too, so it doesn't really affect you as a city. There's a retainage payment requirement that isn't going to affect you at all, because that would be like construction type activity, and we aren't building a new facility, at least to my knowledge, so that would not affect you at all. And again, this is covered by the blanket signature resolution that we have on file with MDOT. So Chief Marks and Julie are authorized to sign this, and this is just to let you know what's going on with the contract. Do you have any questions? Okay.
All right.
Thank you very
Kim.
much. I'll let you go on to more interesting things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your hard work. Up next, we're on item 8, new business. We're going to discuss Bittner and Jennings change in cost.
We need a motion.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah,
I
we
thought
need-
she was just telling us.
We need a motion for both of those.
Okay.
To approve them.
All right.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Support.
Roll call?
Bianski?
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Tarney?
No,
Okay, and then the second one was the second one that she discussed.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll support.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Hess?
Yes.
Tarney?
no.
Bianski?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Passed by majority, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we're going to move on to item C. This is to approve and recognize Bittner Jennings Law Firm as a city legal counsel and to increase their hourly wage from $180 to $195.
Actually, it's 135, isn't it?
It's
Oh, on this it
one-
says
yeah.
180.
I know, it's got 3 different prices on it.
It's 135 to 195.
So this is all mine?
No.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve and recognize Bittner Jennings Law Firm as city legal counsel and increase the hourly wage from $135 to $195.
Do we have a written agreement with this attorney?
Sorry, that's time for a second.
Okay.
There's a motion
Okay.
on the floor.
Support? Okay.
Dale?
Dale with support on that?
Okay, thank you.
I don't understand why you're so quick to increase someone's benefit by 44%. And do we have an agreement with this lawyer?
Commissioner?
I would suggest letting Bill discuss that, because I brought that up in an email to him. I questioned the same thing, but after his explanation, I was quite satisfied with the reasoning for the increase in the pay. I did too, Dan. I had it circled on my,
The thing about it is there's no explanation.
well,
Well, let's let Bill.
Bill explained it to
provide
me.
Right, let's,
You did see the briefing item in your briefing explaining the what's happening. The attorney has asked for an increase in the hourly rate from 135 to 195. The last the rate was set back in 2005, I believe.
been a long time.
So it's been a lot of years since we've had any movements. And, you know, unfortunately, just kind of like our water rates, we didn't increase them as we went along, and all of a sudden we have to increase them significantly to pay the bills. I'm believing that's probably part of the increase, one that puts us in the mid-range with all of their other municipal clients that they service. I can, basically indicate that we've worked a long number of years with Randy. He's accessible and responsive. He's always provided us with good counsel, and it's important for me to be able, as well as Gladys, to be able to pick up that phone and contact our attorney in short order and get some direction. And that's what he's provided. So, yep, he did increase his rates. He brought them up to where all the other municipalities are that working with Bittner and Hearns, or excuse me, Bittner and Jennings. Again, we do have a written agreement with them, but it's quite a long time ago. A lot of different partners have come and went since that agreement was signed, and under the ordinance, you have the ability, you have to accept, review and accept the increase in the rate for the attorney. And part of this motion is to recognize that the firm's name is Bittner Jennings now, from when our original agreement was approved back in, I believe it's 05. So there's a lot of years transpired.
That's not
Okay,
what
question?
this ordinance is doing at all. That's not what this ordinance is doing at all. And I don't feel bad. I mean, nowhere but in the government does anybody get to ask for a 45% raise. Just because they didn't ask for a raise since 2005, good for us, bad for them. If the other municipalities are paying this, I really don't care. The thing about it is a 10% raise I might not have had a problem with. If you're gonna not ask for raises incrementally, I mean, ask anybody that's out here working hourly that goes and asks for a raise. You don't go ask for $3 because you'll get told to hit the road. And personally, that's what I'd like to tell these guys, hit the road. Because, I mean, there are other attorneys. We've had a relationship with Randy for a long time, but this was not even reviewed. This was decided by you, Bill, and then everybody calls, and it's a 45% raise. And 2005, shame on you guys for not asking for a raise. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's not the taxpayers' fault. So.
Yeah, can I make one correction? I didn't approve this. This is being presented to the commission, and by the ordinance, you're responsible to accept this, not me, so.
Okay, Commissioner Moore?
To me, the way to look at this is we've had a bargain for multiple years, and if you ever need legal services, even the 195 is low compared to some of the charges that you can see around in the area. So I think we should be very grateful they've given us a break for all that time. Randy has a lot of institutional knowledge with the city. He's been there for us on many occasions through all those years. And I would like to keep a good relationship with them, and I think this is a fair amount. And I stand by my motion.
Dale?
Bill, you actually mentioned in your email some of the rates that some of the other cities are making, so we're actually, Dan, we're getting a pretty good deal. Unfortunately, you know, it's just like going to a doctor for, excuse me, Pat.
Watch it.
But you're
easy there.
You're paying for their services because, like in Pat's case, if she's going to, operate on your toe, or if a doctor on your heart, I mean, they go to schooling and, or just going to the doctor's visits.
I'm not knocking the profession. I'm not knocking the lawyer. The point of there's just as many unemployed lawyers out there. Unemployment is low across the board. But when the recession hit, the lawyers were unemployed just like everybody else. They go to college for 8 years, and they think there's lots of people out there. And what lawyers did we look at? Did we look at the other municipalities, or did we look outside the realm? Maybe some young guys that are really ambitious, that are willing to spend the time to work for $135. I really have a tough time with a 45% increase. I'm sorry. And there's been some questions about whether we have an agreement or not, and how much time between this office asking, especially on the marijuana, this office asking a question and getting an answer from this lawyer. There's questions that should have been asked before this was put to us on Friday, and I refuse to call you about this, Bill. I refuse to call you because it's all right here. 2005, 135 to 95. It's self-explanatory. There's no other things that need to be said from this office. It was going to get done. I pretty well knew that. I thought me and Dale might fight it a little bit, but with the budget and everything else coming up, this could have waited till after the budget. So that's all I got to say about it.
Okay. Roll call?
Hess?
Yes?
Bianski?
Did we have a second?
Yes. Attorney seconded.
Dale did.
No.
Dale seconded that motion. Commissioner Moore made the motion and Commissioner Torney seconded it before discussion happened.
Thank you.
Bianski?
No.
Cole?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Torney?
Yes.
Passed by majority, Your Honor.
All right. Moving on to public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. Be sure to say your name as well as your address.
Wasn't we supposed to do project authorization too?
We already did that.
That's part of that. The MDOT?
Hang on just a second. We did both of those two things separate, remember?
Those two motions.
That was dial-a-ride? Okay.
We had to add that
All right.
extra one, so now we're up to here. Okay, sorry about that. We had a little point of order there.
Ready?
Yep, go right ahead.
I'm
Sorry.
Randall Peart, and 312 West Chicago. And I'd like to mention a couple of things, that one of which was on the City Commission's wish list for 2017-2018, and that is to improve the welcome signs at city limits. And anybody who notices them know they're short of paint, and some of them are wood challenged by weather. And I think if you don't do something soon, in the cold weather, by the time that you do it, then the spring season will have started and it won't be done this year either. It's been like that for several years. Particularly the one I noticed was the North Redbud Trail Riverside Park, or whatever its name was. Can't tell anymore because there's nothing there. And the park, I wanted to know who was in charge of the plans for the park, the maintenance of the park, and therefore responsible for any input or any deficiencies. Is it the city or is it the Bob?
Yeah, Commissioner Dale?
Well, in regards to your signs, I've been a strong force to try to get that done, and I think we're going to get that done this year. As far as the sign, the welcome sign, and I've had some other, I think me and Bill drove around with one guy, but now we're going to probably look at somebody else before we make our final decision. So it's been a long process, but I believe that's going to be on our budget agenda. So we hope to get that rectified. And he knows about, Bill knows about the welcome sign, so.
Does the welcome sign the same thing as the small colored painted signs that are etched and so on?
Yes.
Is it? I can't answer that
particular
question.
welcome sign, or there's every road coming in has a sign of some sort?
Yeah, I think the two primary signs are our South Redbud entrance and Niles Buchanan Road entrance. Those are the two larger signs. We have smaller square white signs that have almost embossed or engraved lettering on that. Those are the smaller ones, which we have at North Redbud, West Front Street, and we have one up on Main Street coming into town. So those are the smaller ones. We have earmarked $10,000 for consideration by the commission in this year's budget to get that process started. 10,000, I'm not sure how far we'll get, but that's what we've been able to cut away from other things to put in that line item specifically. That should give us a good start to get some of those signs addressed.
If we don't start before the spring season, we're not very welcoming. So.
Yeah.
Dale has another comment for you.
I've been in contact with the city of Three Oaks 3 years ago. They were very kind and cordial, and gave me leads and information because I was impressed with their signs. And we talked to the person who made those signs, so now it was a matter of getting our city to understand we need those signs. So we are working on it. And that'll be presented at the budget meeting, because I still have those pictures.
Okay.
And as far as the park's concerned,
The park improvement or the North Riverside.
yes, the North Riverside Park is part of the BARB.
mess.
Yes, and we had someone come who just was a chairperson for that particular committee, and he has decided he no longer wants to be affiliated with the city, so it's kind of fallen on me, and it's right now it's in a sad state of affairs. It got hit pretty hard by the recent flood. The entire boat launch was submerged, including the staircase from the upper parking lot. There's quite a bit of things being composted there. We would like to plant more grass and put some tables along the river. But I'm looking for any amount of help from people that would like to get involved. There should be a big park cleanup probably in the month of April, where we will take citizen volunteers and the scouts and just go down there and try to clean it up and get that all shipshape, because there's a lot of potential down there. A lot of people don't even know that the city owns that park. So, and we're going to work to replace the sign. Something happened to the sign years ago, and yeah, we could use all the help we could get. So,
Your Honor.
yes.
I wanted to add to that, Michigan Gateway Community Foundation has a designated fund that is designed to just raise money for maintenance of the sign or improve the signs in the city. So I think it's at a low amount right now, but if we can publicize this, anyone would like to make a contribution and build that fund up, that would be one alternative funding source that we could then keep the appearance of those signs on a regular basis, which is what I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Okay, thanks. And we have to cut you off because we went well over your 3 minutes. Thank you.
I can send a letter
Okay.
to you or to the park commission.
Yes, you can just come see me even after the meeting. We can get in touch. Thank you. We'd be grateful. Okay, anyone else?
Alan Robont, 114 East Front Street. I realize this is not the time to talk about 28 signatures on a petition, but I'm hard-pressed to find or think of more than 8 businesses that might be open on Saturday afternoons, and I know that 3 of them are opposed to the street closing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Hi, Norma, come on up.
Norma Ferris, 304 North Oak. When will we have accessibility television for committee meeting? All I get is nothing. Work in progress.
I'm sorry? You mean on Channel 17?
Yes.
Okay.
I get a cone, a city cone, I get nothing.
Okay, so Channel 17 isn't working right now?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have to look into that because I'm not aware of the problem. So if you want to stay after the meeting, we can touch base a second.
Sure.
I'll have to ask.
Still on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if you don't have a
Do you have
computer.
a computer?
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
I know.
No,
No,
that's
it's
okay.
fine. I'm sorry. It's on YouTube.
Okay. Okay, awesome.
No.
No, yeah,
That's not what I said. I
we'll
just
look
wanted to
into
make
it.
sure it was on YouTube.
Definitely. Yeah, Penny?
I wanted to ask about, I talked to Bill about this a couple weeks ago. It was brought up at the DDA meeting about the free internet downtown that would be available. And it would take 15 minutes to have it hooked up.
Okay.
And it was discussed. But anyways, I'd like to see if we could move forward with that. Because with the weather getting great and everything, then we could have free music downtown, like Mill Alley area and stuff. Bill, you know what I'm talking about with Randy with the free internet?
Yeah, that Randy's, again, looking at some of the talents we had locally, Randy and Phil Place up at the school, they had a discussion about the capability of downtown having some wireless internet and some wireless speakers set up. Again, we would be dependent on Randy and Phil to help with that and orchestrate that installation. So that's something I can reach out to Randy and Phil. I know Phil's really busy right now with the school, but if we can at least start a design of a plan to provide some type of equipment downtown to facilitate that. That's where the discussion was.
Because I would like to see like some low jazz music or something. You know, when people are shopping or sitting out there having coffee or an ice cream cone, I think it'd make it more inviting since it's there and available.
Yeah, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, and with that, we're going to move on to item number 10, City Manager's comments. Bill?
Mayor, Commissioners, just touched a little bit on the briefing that you've already received, but maybe the public would be interested in. Again, our water operators during the flood situations we had locally, which was nothing compared to our neighbors around us. We did have some flood waters around the Centennial Park area, McCoy Creek recreational area, in and around our DPW barn. Again, we have 3 water wells in that area. Our operators monitored and did some testing of the wells. As the waters approached, they never went over our wells, but just to be proactive, they did some testing to make sure that we didn't receive any contamination because of the floodwaters, and our wells tested fine throughout that whole period. The waters have receded. I'm quite pleased at the way McCoy Creek flowed. That is actually a representative of the work that was done there 5 years ago to the bank restoration work, the narrowing of the creek in certain areas and to make it flow and a little quicker and a little deeper. That creek handled a lot of water through that time period. I've never seen it that high and moving that swiftly, but the removal of the dam had really made a significant impact. We documented some information during that time period. I think I explained in the briefing that we documented flow rate, took measurements of our culverts, videos of the different areas to show that at a new record-setting high water mark, we still did not reach the floodplain that we have presently mapped for us. So FEMA we'll have conversation with FEMA this summer. They plan to be back to talk with us about redoing the floodplain downtown, which would be a significant benefit to all the property owners if they were taken out of the floodplain. So we do plan to have that conversation with FEMA this summer. Also in the briefing, you had a few options to consider. Again, we got a little bit of time to talk about the traffic light up at Redbud and River Street. Right now, we are on the agenda for the replacement of that traffic light, some ADA work at that intersection, but we are researching the opportunity or the idea that we would move 4th Street slightly north to be in better line with River Street, improving that intersection significantly. That would be an option too, after our standard traffic light improvement up there. We would have the option of maybe correcting a little awkward intersection up there by moving 4th Street a little bit north. That would be an increased expense to us coming out of our road funds, but it's an opportunity for us to maybe correct something that's been a lot of annoying problem to motorists in the past. The third option would be a roundabout. It is possible to put a roundabout up there, but the dollar amount is very, very expensive. $500,000 plus, which was way out of line. We could seek some additional funding out of NATS, our local regional group, but it would take a significant amount of their funding to support that project for Buchanan. I'm leery of cashing in our coupons on one project, and because we still have Front Street from west of Redbud to up to Moccasin. I'd like to get redone here in the future. Present road funds are spoken for up until 2020, so that project is going to be a 21 project if we can get on the list. So, but if we did the circle, the roundabout, we may not even get that, position in 2021 to get some other work done. I just wanted to let you know that we're going to continue to try to research the second option to see what it would take to make that correction in 4th Street, aligning it with River Street. And it would possibly will require us to purchase an easement or a portion of the property on the northwest corner of that intersection. Conversations already been had with the property owner. So we have, we have some idea that they would be willing to have that conversation with us in the future if it works out and you have an interest in that. That's kind of where we're at. Mac Green is here. He's with Whiteman Associates. That's who we're working with on the traffic light project. They've done some surveying. We'll have a sketch, we believe, shortly to help display, and again, a picture's worth 1,000 words, to give us a look-see what that intersection would look like on a map. So once we have that, we'll get that into your hands for more conversations. We have set the spring cleanup dates for the public, May 5th and Saturday, May 6th, Friday and Saturday. We will have the dumpsters up at the River Street parking lot. That worked out really well the previous years. It's pretty accessible. It's not in our muddy floodplain area where our DPW building is located. And so we hope that everybody takes advantage of that over the weekends, the better weekends, to pick up any debris and things from your yard and things you want to get rid of, and take advantage of our free disposal day. Something other that I want you to think about, and we'll come back to you, is the request from the school to eliminate some parking up there during school hours. On your briefing, you saw a map of probably 150 feet right in front of the school, which is along the curb that is presently available for daytime parking, and then 250 feet on the north side of Chicago Street. They would like it to be posted, no parking between school hours. The conversation was that it inhibits the bus traffic coming and going out of that area. They're concerned about some clear view areas, traffic, pedestrians, maybe crossing the street in between vehicles. So that's what's been proposed for us to look at. I want to bring that up, so next time you're up at the school, take a look. Those spaces are pretty valuable. They're desirable, and they're always filled. So we'd be eliminating quite a number of parking spaces. I'm told by the school they have that inventory in their parking lots, that people will be able to relocate into their parking lots. But that's something for you to consider, and we'll be back at you with some
That's the
advice.
bus drivers crying about it, really?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And can't they go to the right out of there? I mean, it's not like, where do they offload?
They offload in I'm
They
not
offload
sure.
out there by the gym, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, by the gym.
So really, they could go down around the baseball field and not eliminate any parking spots.
Well,
A lot of them do use Smith Street. I live in that area. There are a lot of cars parked on Chicago Street, and I would really like to see one side of Detroit Street be no parking. I've watched those buses coming around off of Chicago Street and turning onto Detroit Street, and they have a terrible time. And people get as close as they can to that darn corner. And I think this is a great idea because I travel it every day, umpteen million times a day, and I see a lot.
Yeah. I just, you know, with the request, next time you're up there, take a good look. Let me know your thoughts. We'll bring it back to the commission for approval. This is something I really don't want to do is just under a traffic order until you all approve it, so. That's all I have.
Okay. Time for commissioners' comments. We'll start with Pat this evening.
I did place at the far table near the front entrance to the room several schedules for the 10 Shop Theater. I encourage everyone to enjoy live theater in Buchanan. It's one of the special features that we hope bring people into the town. You can plan dinner, I was going to say movie, a play. There's, in the works, they're auditioning for a variety show coming up. So I think it's going to be a very interesting season, and I would encourage everyone to treat themselves to a very reasonable evening out and enjoy all the wonderful talent we have here in the city. And my second comment is that since I just reminding my fellow commissioners that since, especially since the legal fees have increased, there really is no authorization in place for any of our individual commissioners to contact city attorneys individually, and they're made available at these meetings for us to ask our questions. So every time someone individually calls them, that is running up our bill. And nobody is authorized to do that. That is not part of our budget. And I think if we find that someone is abusing that, they should be responsible for those legal fees. So that's my own opinion. I'm not making a motion towards that, but I just want to make people aware that's what they're here for, is for us to use them at this time when it's cost effective and not be calling them because we have a question.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Baganski?
Well, first and foremost, I asked not to sign these checks till we authorized them. Last meeting, I asked to move a couple of things off the consent calendar. I was told I couldn't and didn't get to, and I was actually trying to protect you. We should have allowed you to miss that last meeting tonight rather than before we even had the meeting. That was basically something I wanted to strike from the consent calendar. I still don't agree as far as I've only talked to the lawyers once, because I know as soon as they pick up the phone, they start charging, well, what is it, about $20 a minute now? So I made it very clear I was going to talk to them, and I talked to them about 15 minutes. I talked to Rick and Randy one time. Kind of, got to be politically correct. I can't use the word I was going to use.
Thank you.
It upset me for them to think that I wasn't their employer. I have fired a couple lawyers in my life. I know several unemployed lawyers. I know several lawyers that are driving truck, and I know several lawyers that are working in the oil field. So, I mean, as far as the $195, I think it's bogus, but we know what judges, police officers, and lawyers got in common, themselves. So, with that said, I'm very unhappy. I'd like to see the agreement with the lawyers. I'd like to see some time limits put on the lawyers, and I'll stop with that.
Okay. Commissioner Cole?
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity to thank our lawyer for driving all the way down here on our meeting night to be here, to be able to answer our questions, and for all the work that you've done. This marijuana thing has been a tremendous job, and I know it's been tremendous for you as well as it has been for us. I just wanted you to know that there is someone sitting here that does appreciate what you do, and you're worth everything that we have paid you and will be paying you. It's nice to have a lawyer who knows us, knows what's going on in our city, and is there at beck and call when we need you. So thank you.
Okay.
That's it.
Commissioner Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to let everybody know that on March 19th, I once again will be going out with the Meals on Wheels people and the person who's in charge of the Berrien County, the whole Berrien County Meals on Wheels. I've done it before. We're making this a quarterly type outing because I believe the last time there was 35 people who could not get out of their house. They're disabled, they're suffering, and the only contact that they have with the outside world is actually the drivers from Meals on Wheels. It's pretty sad, but I will be doing that again, and I'm looking forward to it. Also, on March 22nd, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Buchanan Senior Center, Ohm of Medicine will now have another meeting on how to understand medical marijuana, and they'll have their doctor there. And at the last meeting, there was quite a number of people, and they now get a full understanding of what's out there. So I think anybody who did not go to the first meeting should definitely go to the second meeting and ask their questions. And you learn every time. So I think that's a good thing that people should go to. Bill, as you know, in the email, my emails are usually extensive and thorough and ask a lot of questions. So I basically, my understanding for the road, I would rather see the straight road because the cul-de-sac or the roundabout for Buchanan, in my estimation, wouldn't make sense, and the cost would put us so far behind. So you know where I stand, and I think straightening out that area would help out tremendously. My last point is the budget meeting. Has that been approved for March 24th?
That's goal setting.
Goal setting. Yeah. I get those confused.
And that, I think we had three responses back from what and all can make it.
Yep.
I responded.
Yep, me too.
Yep.
I'm good. Are you good for the 24th?
I'm looking.
Dan?
I didn't respond. We agreed to the 17th, so I don't really care what you guys have. Just tell me.
Okay.
It's amazing. We agreed to a date and a time, and then the 2 days afterwards, you change it. So why do you need my response? Just set the date, and I'll show up.
All right.
Yeah, I got it down for the 24th. So
Commissioner
All right.
Dan, the reason why the 17th was changed because Bill can't be here, so
Bill
we
was
had.
here at the meeting when we set the date.
Well, I don't know.
That is correct.
Yes, yes, but things do come up.
Yeah.
I just want to change my calendar so I know I'm going to.
Yes, 24th it is. And we would
24th
like
it is,
to
Your
invite
Honor?
citizens too.
We can
24th.
add it to the minutes that it'll be on March 24th.
That'd be good.
Can I make
9
one other small thing?
Yes.
Okay. Back in my working days, okay, Rick, I was in the city of Chicago, and I was sort of considered a professional witness for the company, so I had to lean heavily on attorneys. Attorneys had to rely on me. So there is a lot of work and repetition, so I understand, what goes on, and I think you guys are giving us a pretty good deal considering what I have seen over many years of my corporate work in downtown Chicago and being in trial 3-4 days at a time. So I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And for my comments, I just wanted everyone to know that being an elementary school teacher for my day job, March is Reading Month, and we are trying to have a literate community through Little Free Libraries and Bookmobile, and I made a proclamation that the month of March is Reading Month in Buchanan, and I would encourage everyone to visit your community library and spend some time reading with a young person of your choosing. And we all celebrated on the 2nd Dr. Seuss's 114th birthday at the school, which is a big pageant with Dr. Seuss hats, and a lot of fun was had. So please keep that in mind for the month. And anything else? Yes.
Mayor, we just want to make sure for the minutes that
Oh, yeah.
Gladys sees a consensus on the 24th.
Yes.
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 Thank
Thank you. Thank you,
9 o'clock,
Gladys.
right?
Yes.
9 o'clock.
And the public is invited to that as well. There will be a notice posted, right, Gladys? Right outside in the glass case outside. And with that, we're going to move into a closed session. 15.268, closed sessions, permissible purposes, Section 8H, to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute. And we're on letter A, consider approving local medical marijuana provisioning center. No, we're not.
Sorry, no.
Oh.
We don't do that until afterwards yet, but we need a motion to go into
So moved.
closed
Okay,
session.
so moved. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to reconvene this, our regular meeting. All right, I need a motion.
I make the motion we reconvene from closed session.
Okay,
Support.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I need a motion for approval.
I'll make the motion that we approve the local medical marijuana provisioning center permit for 804 East Front Street, Michigan Total Healing Center of Buchanan LLC.
I'll support.
Okay, roll call, please.
Bianski?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Turney?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. All right, and then with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
Okay, second.
I'll support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor.